will. Right, it's past. Let's get some instant confidence. So this is science-backed. You're going to think it's a little bit crazy, but it's not. It's Amy Cuddy's got a TEDx talk on this. She did a research about it, and 8 other people did too. So let's stand up. We want to get ourselves in a state where we're in full flow. We are feeling incredibly confident and comfortable and present, because we want to really start to think about things. So I'm going to ask you to think about some things today, and I want you to be able to take this in and be present and feel more comfortable. And this is what you can do anytime you're about to go into a boardroom meeting. You do the Wonder Woman pose. You've probably heard it. So hands on hips, shoulders back, looking forward. 2 minutes is the science on this. This will reduce your cortisol. So if you've had quite a stressful day, you've had quite a bit going on, this will reduce that. 2 minutes was the research done on. 2 minutes of standing with your hands on your hips. You can do this in the bathroom, feet shoulder width apart. Stand up now and really start to calm yourself down. So we want that stress level going down. We want the testosterone level going up. And the study that Amy did proven that people that went into an interview felt calmer. They were able to answer questions more clearly, and they felt more confident. It's crazy, isn't it? Body language can make us feel more confident. So if you ever need an instant confidence boost, you're not feeling it, you're not feeling quite with it, just do this. Just really do this. Or do you know what I used to do? A really purposeful stride across the office. You know, I'd walk in some days and hunched over and playing small, thinking, I'm not feeling good today. I'm not feeling it. I've got a board meeting and this is going to be a challenging one. Just give yourself that power, like many powerful people do, and we don't do. We try and take less space. We want to take more space. And while you're taking up some space and you're doing your Wonder Woman power pose for 2 minutes, I'm going to introduce who I am. So I'm Sue Parker, and I'm going to be talking to you today all about thriving in your first 30 days in leadership and beyond. Really, to be honest, these strategies will help you to become an empowered leader with impact, which is my goal, because I suffered really bad burnout. I took it all on, and there are many challenges that you will face that we'll talk about during this presentation. Right, you've done 2 minutes now of standing in your Wonder Woman pose, and hopefully you're feeling, yeah, I'm a little bit more with it now, Sue. I shook off whatever's happened in the previous stage of my day. I have done that transition from that, and I'm now feeling more present for my ideas to flow. And I want you to pop these in the chat. I am, if you were to describe yourself, defining your identity, what is it? 3 words. How would you describe your identity? I am. 3 words in the chat. Give you a couple of minutes to think about that. If you're struggling, maybe think about your role model. Think about, actually, when I think about myself, without all these limitations, without all this stuff that happened in the last 10 years. Oh, I love that, Gabrielle. Calm, strong, and intelligent. They are brilliant. I am strong. Strong's a recurring one here. Sarah, I'm strong. Inspiring, love that. I'm confident. Oh, we all love to feel confident, don't we? Strong, bold, confident, able to show up. Oh, I'm genius. I love it. Yes. And there's, I'm persistent, resilient, courageous, brave. Fatima, brave, absolutely. Great one. Oh, courageous. Courageous and confident, I think, come hand in hand. Remarkable. I love that. Have you done one of the remarkable workshops? They're brilliant. And this is the thing. You're acting out. I want you to write these down. Really write these down. Really own these. And when you've written them down, pop them in your journal. You're going to look at these frequently to remind yourself that you are this person. You're going to show up every day, and this is who you are. I'm going to share with you some of the words that I hear when I talk to people about the type of leader they want to be. And they want a role model. Role model comes up quite a lot, you know, moving from victim to role model. Thank you, Nicole. I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it. Want to be authentic. You know, when I ask people who their role models are, you know, words come out like Michelle Obama and, you know, the obvious ones like Oprah, because they're so authentic. We love them for being who they are. Authentic doesn't mean being rude and being, you know, and treading all over everybody else. We are conscious. We are valuing other people and their views too. We're connected and present. We've got clarity. We're intentional. I always think one of my things is about being intentional. If I say I'm going to show up and do something, I show up and do something, but I enter that project with intention that I'm going to make it a success. And I'm intentional about all of my goals and all of those sorts of things. Positive, influence, impact. These are great words, folks. Really own these words. Really own these words, because it's really easy to follow the leaders before us, and they might not have necessarily been been role modeling a good way to us. Certainly in many corporates, you get poor leadership management styles. You get poor comments that can be derogatory to others. We've learned a lot of stuff. Thank you, Alec. Energetic session. Always energetic. Always, we're here to be intentional about showing up and about doing something that we want to be present and connected to. We want to get a lot out of it. 40% of people fail. And some of that is that we replicate the bad leaders before us, and then we don't necessarily stay true to our values. Yes, 40%, it's crazy. And some surveys actually say it's as high as 70%. I thought this was actually more believable in the detail of the study. But what I can see is that it's easy to see why. There are lots of problems. Problems like there's less support. You move away from your peers and that peer support that you had around you, and all of a sudden you're on your own. You've gone from doer to strategist, and you've not got anybody to ask because you feel like you shouldn't, and we'll come back to that. You're overwhelmed because you're still taking on a lot of the workload. You're busy all the time with busy work, and it's incredibly difficult. There's no handbook. I thought when I moved into a leadership role, continue with my mantra, hard work, long hours equals success. The reality is that just led me to burnout. The stress kills the creativity that we have. And what happens is you move into that leadership role, and I had this overwhelming need to answer all the questions. And I realized there was a lot more to this than I thought. Imposter syndrome started creeping in, and I felt like I didn't know the answers and they were looking at me, and therefore I wasn't worthy of the job I'd just been given, but I had to prove myself. I'm still in the early days. But the reality is, what we know is that by having a little bit of imposter syndrome is really, really important. I can see Nicole there. Yeah, she quit immediately. It's just not sustainable. But that inner critic, that imposter syndrome, says, I'm going to ask what if, I'm going to do more research, I'm going to become more competent because I'm going to try and figure out more of these answers. And that is, of course, professing. We can get competency, which builds our confidence in a subject, which has a complete cycle to it. And it's incredibly complex, but we can build it up. I want to share with you this Dunning-Kruger effect. So this is where you come in as the new person and you know a little bit, like teenagers do. They know something, they think they can take over the world, and therefore it makes you really confident in something. Then when you get into your leadership role, or you move on, you progress, you advance a little bit in your study or knowledge or awareness of something. This is me, entered my leadership role. I realized this infrastructure is really complex. Yeah, I know the bit that I came in that I really wanted to do, the front end community, the Tableau community, the data analysis. The infrastructure, the data warehouse, the bits in the background scared me. And that complexity meant I would doubt myself. Have you ever been sat in a meeting where you don't want to give an answer, a response, because you know there's a hell of a lot more to it? It's quite complex. So you stay quiet. You perhaps do some of this body language that means you're going small. Don't ask me. I don't want to contribute because I'm not sure if I'm right. You want to have that open discussion, but you don't feel like this is the right environment and you've got the support there. Whereas this person who knew a little bit, the teenager that can take over the world, they're feeling really confident and everybody's getting behind that confident stakeholder. Do you remember in IT, we have a lot of this, don't we? A stakeholder, a very prominent stakeholder, perhaps a director, will look at your solution for you and decide that the answer's dead easy. You just throw it in the data warehouse in a table. And everybody's backing them because they sound really confident, because they have this little bit of knowledge about what you do. When the reality is, you know how much more complex it is. So you start to self-doubt yourself, and you're a little bit unsure in that setting about challenging. Now, the person over on the right is the professor. They're experienced enough to have sat through these situations many times and know that there's complexity, there's ins and outs. So you see, imposter syndrome is there. It does help us to check and do more research, but sometimes we need to question who we are believing. Are we believing the confident person who thinks they know the answers when the reality is they only know part of the situation? So this was me. I moved into my leadership role. I clung on to my daily role. Yeah, absolutely, Nicole. Who are you believing? So I clung on to my daily role, and I was doing my leadership role at the same time. So I was a doer and I became a strategist, and I was doing everything, but I had no clear direction. And I didn't feel the strategy piece that I had peers around me that I could trust, that I could support, that I could talk to. I felt like I had to prove myself. and I had to deliver this. But I had ideas, and I come into role incredibly sort of geared up for, no, we're just going to start this project. As soon as I get started, I want a Tableau community setting up. I want a strategic plan, our improvement plan. We're going to do some ETL refactoring because it keeps failing when one of the dependencies doesn't work, the whole thing fails. Let's refactor it. I've got data gap projects going on because I've got stakeholders telling me these things aren't in the warehouse, doctor sessions, all sorts of things going on alongside my day job that I'd always done. Of course, that could be because we could argue we're micromanaging. We could argue that we don't trust people to do the job the way we do, or just that, we take on the lion's share, don't we? We will say, I'll do that, and then I'll hand it to you when it's in a tidier state, and I've done all the real grafting and the donkey work to get it in a really tidy place. But ETL, yeah, absolutely. But consequently, this problem means we get overwhelmed. And this overwhelm can lead to burnout. And that's what I suffered. I suffered life-changing burnout. I want to share with you a really good lesson from Steve Jobs. And this is in 1997. He went back to Apple. Apple was a failing company. They were making £1 billion loss at that point. And he came in and he turned it around in 1 year to make a £309 million profit. How did he do that? He got rid of 70% of their product line, 70% of the work that they were doing. Now, when you take a look at everything on your to-do list, how much of that is busy work and how much of that is working towards your primary goals? You could see from the last slide that I had a lot of plates spinning. I had a lot of projects I started and a lot of things that I needed to delegate and deal with in other ways. Perhaps you need to take a look, particularly if you're moving into leadership or you are a leader, at your own to-do list and what you're doing. I once sat down with one of the directors and I said to him, you don't seem to be bothered about these issues that I bring to you, these things that I bring to the table. You don't seem to want to progress or deal with any of these underlying issues. And he said to me, do you know what, Sue? I have 3 rocks. Always have your 3 rocks. These are the 3 things that you've got to deliver above all else. They're the things you've got to focus your attention on and avoid the noise that will keep vying for your attention. He called them crocodiles and crows that make a lot of noise around you and try to snap your feet off to drag you away to do with something with their problems. The reality is you need your 3 rocks, the only things you're going to focus on, and deliver a few things well. And that's what Steve did incredibly well for Apple. He got them to focus on a few things incredibly well. And this is a skill, this focus, because quite often we have those little things burning in the background, don't we? That they should either be part of our main goals and our main focus and our main projects, or we should just get rid of them altogether. Like Warren Buffett would say, cross them off and avoid them at all costs. Focus on your big 3. So, and make sure, avoiding the shiny objects. That's very good, Nicole. We are bombarded by shiny objects, particularly in the modern world, because it's always on, isn't it? There's always something new to look at. And I would say do 1 needle mover action every day, even if it's a small amount on one of those goals. And eat your frog is a really good metaphor for doing your hardest, worst, most challenging task first. Things that we resist, other people, empowering other people to give them our workload. When we go into leadership, this thing about hanging on to the job, believing and trusting in others is part of that process. Learn to empower others and to be okay with sort of letting go of the reins of something. And then the other problem. So we've looked at imposter syndrome. We've looked at overwhelm and the things vying for your time and the unclear direction that you have. The other problem we have is, do you ever feel like no one is listening to you? Your ideas, your suggestions, you sit in meetings, or maybe you go and present and you want that buy-in. You want somebody else to support you. Maybe your team aren't listening to you, or you can't get that recognition or investment. And that skill about persuading people, I've heard it talked about a lot on these presentations, and it's fantastic. We're talking about ways we communicate with people, how we get them to see things from our point of view and how we see things from theirs. This skill of influencing and persuading people is pivotal to your success in your career. The promotions that you want, the ideas, the solutions, getting pay rises, recognition, and investment in your area. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about circle of influence. This is you, and this is how you can affect the thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and expectations of others. Internally, we need to have a self-belief. We need to have a self-awareness as well. We need to make sure that we're focusing on the things we can control and not wasting our energy bemoaning all the things that we have no control over at all. Because where we put that focus, that's where your energy is going to go, and that's what you're going to be intentionally working towards. And that's what we want to do here, isn't it? With the whole bringing more women into technology and supporting women in technology. We want to focus on the things we can control and drive forward and have influence on. And then, because of our growth mindset, the fact that we believe we can learn and do better, we want to push that positive attitude out and be more visible out there on LinkedIn, more visible out there in our organizations as role models, role modeling the way of how we believe this should be. And that role modeling and that visibility will help to affect the thoughts, beliefs, and ideas of other people. And this is how you can start to use your circle of influence. Because when you feel incredibly strong, you can go into those meetings, you can go and show up online or wherever it is you need to go and feel strong. And then you can start to influence on the things that you couldn't otherwise control. One of the key elements of building influence is to build know, like, and trust with you. It's just like personal branding. I'm going to listen to you if I know, like, and trust you. Psychology of influence. Yep, Robert Cialdini. There's a good book mentioned at the bottom. There's a few others. So there's Dale Carnegie, and you've obviously got Stephen Covey's great book as well. So I'm going to talk to you about the bank of trust. This is where you're building some relationship up with your stakeholder, with your manager, with your team. And this is where everything you do goes into it. So I talk about building up trust. So that is, being honest, that's showing up and being congruent, being proactive when things go wrong, helping your business stakeholders to sort things out. Following up, when you say you're going to find out about something, get back to them in a timely manner, be helpful, deliver the projects that you say you're going to. All of this is building up this bank of trust, your visibility, your know, like, and trust with this person so that you can build an element of, when I want to influence you, you will listen to me. Build up this bank of trust. Every time we take away, we make mistakes, we criticize, we're negative, or we fail to deliver, we actually make a withdrawal from our bank of trust. And this is incredibly damaging when we want to ask something of these people. You can actually get into an overdrawn position. And the worst thing you ever want as a leader, and I was there, is for the first time you have a meeting with your senior director, is for it to be as a result of a mistake made in your department. Build up your know, like, and trust. Build up your bank of trust with that person by being trustworthy, being congruent, following up, helpful, and delivering before any of these withdrawals are ever made, and you're able to ask and influence that person. Then you will have a lot easier time in your career, and you will avoid some of the challenges and pitfalls I've seen others make. So 3 really succinct tips, thank you, Sarah, for influence. If I was to summarize what we've talked about, you must ask something that's relevant to your bank of trust. So imagine going to somebody completely cold, like cold salespeople do, and asking them for investment, for a promotion. Your bank of trust is completely empty. You're overdrawing it. You're not going to influence that person the same. Make the ask, the ask that you've got, low risk, low effort, and high reward. And this leads on to number 3, which is always prepare what's in it for them. Think about, if I'm approaching my director for a promotion, what's in it for them? Does it help them with their next level promotion because they're succession planning? What's their goal and how can I help them to achieve it? Perhaps I can persuade them by helping them to do something that they need to do alongside the project that I've got to deliver. Or I can make them see that by delivering on X or having this investment in our infrastructure, it will have a positive impact for their career goals. Really get to know that person and build up that bank of trust. Now, remember the I am at the start. I want you to really hang on to that. Write it down in your journals, write it down on sticky notes on your board, wherever it is, to really empower you, to remind you, this is your identity. This is how you show up. This is who you are and who you are going to show up as. When you're ready to be an incredibly empowered leader, do not forget these trainings. Do not go down the route that I did. Avoid burnout, but become a high-performing leader with incredible impact and stay true to yourself. I've had some fantastic comments in this box at the side, so we've probably only got a minute left. So I just want to have a little look at those and say that thank you so much for your fantastic comments. You know, Nicole, avoiding the shiny objects. Yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it. Yeah, learning on what to pay attention to, learning how to say no and say yes. Ronka talked about this in her talk. It's incredibly valuable skill. Oh, Sarah talked about the fear of missing out. Absolutely. The fear if I don't engage in this little project or discussion over here, I might miss out on something good. You need to really be strategic about what you're saying yes to. If it's something that you can see may lead to opportunity in the direction you want to travel, then absolutely invest some time. But be very clear on what you're investing time in. When in doubt, write down your thoughts. Anita, thank you for that one. Yeah, absolutely. Think on paper. Absolutely. Most of them are not even our criticism, but rather society patterns. Absolutely. We used to do this exercise where on one side we put all the, you know, what I want to do, on then we'd write what are the reasons for not doing it, and then we'd logically write in the third column what's the likelihood of this happening, and if this worst thing did happen, really what's going to happen. Yeah, logically, applying the logic instead of the automated part of your brain. Question who you are believing, Nicole said. Yeah, absolutely, with the confidence person that sort of shouts over everybody else. Thank you, folks. I'm conscious we've run out of time, and I would absolutely love to have you connect with me on LinkedIn and raise your questions with me. I've actually created an Empowered Leader series, which is a free training series that you can sign up to on Elite Digital Space to provide you with some more training on visibility, impact, confidence, all of these really key skills. So thank you so much, folks. And I look forward to seeing you again around and about on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Take care. Thank you.